You know, snakes have a different sense of smell, and birds used to be our prey once upon a time.
Oh, der ist gut.
Well, yeah. Luckily, we're living in civilized times.
Lucky. Please take a seat. How can I help you, gentlemen?
An isle of reason in a sea of insanity.
Insanity is such a strong word, and it's mostly an abstract idea. Where does insanity start, and how long is one not insane? Interesting questions. Am I normal, or are you? Maybe neither of us.
You see, that's something I think about a lot nowadays.
If you like, I can give you an appointment.
Oh, this is your chance, Sonny. Don't miss it.
Das war klar.
Here.
Marty, clock up.
So, jetzt reden wir mal mit ihm.
To be honest, gentlemen, your visit is anything but a surprise. I could even say I was expecting it.
What an introduction.
Please forgive me. I have the bad habit of immediately getting into the middle of things. How very rude of me. My name is Dr. Quetzalcoatl, but most call me Dr. Quetzal to keep it simple.
Also er ist tatsächlich Quetzalcoatl, er ist also komplett.
The name is Santino Featherland, and this is my partner, Martin McChicken, from
the predatory division of the Clawville Police Department. Your fame is one step ahead of you.
Das hören die dauernd.
We're used to it.
Certainly.
Oh, ist der eklig.
We have some questions about one of your patients, if you don't mind. We'd like to talk to him, if that's possible.
Please be specific, detective.
Look, Doctor, we're too tired to play cat and mouse. Not that snake and chicken sounds any better.
Very funny, I must say. Just what I expected from you two detectives.
We know you know. It's about Albert Wessler, Ibn Wessler's secret twin. Ever since we've said his name, all the doors have miraculously opened. That's what we call a bullseye.
Well, yes. Why should I deny it? We're talking about a rather illustrious patient here, who's also a very particular medical case.
Now, that's much more interesting. So, are you willing to talk about him?
Because Albert, regrettably, has disappeared, and you are police detectives, I have no reason not to talk to you. Of course, I'm at your service. But you must understand, I can't disclose information about my patients.
Das sieht aus, als würde er dauernd auf die Uhr gucken. Das ist furchtbar.
Not even if it's a matter of life and death.
Everything's a matter of life and death in here, detective. This is a hospital, even if it's primarily for the mind, not the body.
Still, I'd like to give the impossible a try.
Please, detective, just do your job.
Entschuldigung.
And I'll do mine.
Ja, dann befragen wir den doch mal.
How long was Albert a resident of the institution?
For quite some time. His first symptoms surfaced in his teens. Depression, panic attacks, and schizophrenia.
Schizophrenia.
Was he brought here immediately after the first signs that something wasn't right?
You know, the biggest problem with an opinion on insanity is that animals are ashamed of it. That's the reason our institution stands out here in the middle of nowhere.
Because animals would rather hide what they're afraid to face.
Richtig.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
As far as I know, the Wessler family wasn't exceptionally wealthy.
Indeed, they were rather poor, but we offer our services gratis.
Then how do you sustain yourselves?
By the grace of the treasury of King Hector III, of course.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
My family and the royal dynasty had always been on good terms, Mr. Santino.
Okay.
What kind of a place is this exactly? I assume it wasn't built as an insane asylum.
It used to be a mansion. Construction started during the occupation in 622. Then it stood empty for almost a century, until finally it went to the crown of Cloville when Hector's great-grandfather took the throne. The rest is
Uiuiuiui.
history.
Warum werde ich beim Stream immer... Nee, gar nicht müde. Ich bin nicht müde, aber ich muss dauernd gähnen.
How long have you been working here?
I've worked here for more than 30 years, but it's been in my family's possession for almost 150 years.
So if I count correctly, as soon as it went to the crown, it was seized by your family.
That's almost accurate, Mr. Featherland.
Accurate.
What a lovely inheritance. Tell me, Doctor, do you know Madame Zavas?
Just like everybody else, I've heard of her, but I never had the pleasure of meeting her in person. I'm sure she's an interesting case.
Oh, you can be sure about that. I'd gladly get you two together if I had the chance. A spare cell would suit her very much. As it turns out, she likes small, narrow, secret places.
Oh, I see. What a coincidence.
Gut, dann werden wir ihn jetzt mal das hier.
Dr. Quetzal's a real mystery. But I can turn that to my advantage. I just need to focus on the strangest pieces of the puzzle.
So.
So when did Albert become a resident of your institute?
Albert and Hobart, or Ibn as you call him, arrived here almost exactly 4
beide.
years ago.
Could you describe that day more specifically?
It was not long after New Year's Eve, maybe the first week of the year, if I'm not mistaken. It was sleeting
Hilfe.
that day. Wind was banging incessantly on the windows. The power was going out for short periods of time.
Von vorne ist der ganz furchtbar.
What was your first impression of them?
I already knew the Wessler name. I knew who they were. Or at least I knew one of them, Hobart Wessler. He was famous. Gangster, moneylender, celebrity, lover.
Lava.
And Albert?
He was new to me, an invisible gray ghost. The family had tried to keep his existence a secret.
Why?
Because they were ashamed of him, of course, Mr. Featherland. That's how it usually is.
What was your first impression of him?
He was silent, but observed everything that surrounded him. His eyes were constantly moving, never stopped for a second.
Was he afraid?
I wouldn't say so. It seemed to me that he wanted to move into our institution voluntarily. It looked as if he
Die
couldn't
Sprache.
wait to be here, alone, locked up in silence and darkness.
Didn't you think of that as unusual?
Of course I did, but who am I to judge? It was rather special treatment.
What kind of special treatment did Albert get?
You know, if an institution like ours has to accept a Wessler as a guest, there's bound to be some favoritism.
And complete secrecy, I guess.
Yes, but that's the case for all our patients, Mr. Featherland.
Of course. So in what way did he receive more than the others?
Basically, we don't admit anyone into our institution without a complete and thorough prior assessment. In the case of Albert, we put that aside.
Aside.
So you didn't even know if he had anything wrong with him?
Initially, no. He was more of a guest than a patient.
How did you see Albert when you first met?
Albert was shy and reserved, like a ghost. He almost never touched anything. It was evident he was exceptionally intelligent. He measured and observed everything around him.
What else?
He was delicate and graceful, almost like a woman. Yes. He was rather feminine. He was an artist, Mr. Featherland, a magnificent painter, and a rather good writer, too. Sometimes I even heard him sing.
Sing, das ist so schön.
Why did he have to be locked up?
I asked the same thing at first.
Are you telling me Albert had multiple personalities?
We found out very quickly that there was no other reason for the cause of his seizures. He had a cold and calculating personality who sometimes, especially on stormy days, took the reins over their shared mind.
Okay.
He had these seizures from the beginning.
Yes, Mr. Featherland, but they started to intensify after Albert left our institution for the first time.
He did what? Left the institution? More than once?
Oh, yes, Mr. Featherland. Albert left the institution on several occasions until the last time, when he failed to come back.
Wetzel's not only very observant, but he's addicted to details. I must focus on that
No.
if I want to get closer to the truth. Focus. Addicted to details.
Diese Zwischendinge, die Sonny immer sagt, die bringen einen grundsätzlich kein Stück weiter.
So Albert could just walk in and out.
Far from it, Mr. Featherland. Though Mr. Hobart Wessler had appeared on many occasions and took Albert with him. At those times, he usually brought him back the same day, or the next, at the latest.
Okay.
What was the purpose of these outings?
Albert Wessler was working on a painting, Mr. Featherland.
Oh, jetzt haben wir's.
Yes, the painting. It's all starting to come together now.
So, you've heard about the painting.
Sure I have.
So, Moment. Das
Did
da.
Albert tell you about his relationship with his brother?
Rarely. He respected and loved his brother, but when he came to talk, he was usually angry.
Oh, why?
No fear, jealousy, frustration, rivalry, maybe all of these combined.
So Albert left on many occasions to continue working on the painting.
Exactly, Mr. Featherland. Every time he came back, he was like a different person. But unfortunately, his seizures also multiplied and became more dangerous.
More dangerous.
Albert was hurting himself, And on one occasion, he even tried to hurt me. It was unprecedented. It seemed his confined personality was taking over their shared mind entirely, piece by piece.
Piece by piece.
Do you think the painting caused it?
Not the painting, Mr. Featherland.
But its subject.
Exactly. He was obsessed, right until that fateful day when he returned to us for the last time.
What exactly happened that day, Doctor?
It wasn't Hobart who brought his brother back that day, but two of his gorillas. Not literally, I mean. And Albert was in a
Stimmt.
terrible,
Könnte ja wirklich.
terrible
Ja.
state.
What happened to him?
I don't like to talk about that, Mr. Featherland.
It could be vital to the case, Dr. Quetzal.
Komm.
Don't back down.
Oh, you're right. There's no use turning back now. So, Albert's tongue was torn out, or cut off, I don't know exactly. And he was blinded in one eye.
Alter.
Or rather, one of his eyes was missing.
Was?
entirely.
So you're saying Albert was brought back horribly mutilated?
Yes. And they didn't give any explanation as to what had happened. They simply told me it was some kind of accident.
Ist klar, dem ist das Auge, weil er diesen Anfall hatte, rausgeploppt und er ist danach gesprungen, ist mit dem Kiefer auf die Tischkante und hat dabei die Zunge abgebissen. Das ist es. Ja, das ist ein ganz normaler Unfall.
Dr. Quetzal is cold and professional, but he's also very confused. Maybe it's cruel, but I must exploit his vulnerability if I want to learn everything about Albert. Focus, confused.
Die wundern.
Maybe it's not easy for you to talk about it, but did you examine his wounds thoroughly?
I'm not that kind of doctor, Mr. Featherland. But even I could determine his tongue was either cut out or bitten off. And his eye was gouged out. He also had several broken bones.
But there's no doubt it wasn't an accident.
I don't believe it was, Mr. Featherland.
I totally agree. Concentrate, Doctor. What do you think happened to Albert?
I'm sure it was Hobart. He ordered his men to mutilate poor Albert.
Also ich vermute, und ich habe nicht gespoilert, da haben sie ihn ausgetauscht.
But why would he do that?
Maybe Albert saw something he could accidentally reveal.
To whom? The four walls? A couple of crazies? You?
To anyone, Mr. Featherland.
I don't think it's that simple, Doctor. But thank you for your honest opinion.
You're welcome, Detective.
Und?
What happened then? How did Albert disappear?
A few weeks later, Hobart came to visit Albert one more time. Albert had been in terrible condition by then. We even had to transfer him to another cell, a more safe one.
What did Hobart do during the visit?
He didn't do anything. He just sat and watched his brother, who was in an almost vegetative state by then.
Okay.
Couldn't you manage to draw anything out of him? You or Hobart?
Nothing. For a while, he was trying to signal something. Perhaps he was too afraid. And most likely his fingers had been broken too, so he couldn't even write.
Do you think Hobart could have killed Albert?
It's horrible to say it, but I'm sure.
Oder andersrum.
How did he disappear in the end? Did someone come for him?
That's what's most eerie about it all, Mr. Featherland. He simply disappeared. His door, which only I had a key for, was open.
Did anyone see anything?
No one. We interrogated the staff, even the patients. He simply vanished off the face of the wilderness. We don't know what happened to him.
Unfortunately, I have a hunch. Thank you, Doctor. You've been a great help.
Oh, well, I'm glad.